We live.
We are live. Shalom, everybody give a hand. Right, it is the Feast of Hanukkah. There's a very important celebration inside of our history. This is not a high holy day. A lot of you will probably were aware and know you did not have to come today in a garment. I just came to show brotherhood. You can always wear a garment any day of the week. This is not a garment day. This is not a mandated day. You will not be prosecuted by our law system for not celebrating this day. The Passover, which is coming up, give that a round of applause. The Passover is a mandated day. If you miss Passover, you can lose your right as a citizen of our nation. That's in the Bible. However, today, if for whatever reason you cannot or do not celebrate it, you cannot be prosecuted by our legislative system. Okay? Now today we're going to go over the spirit or the history of Hanukkah and why this holiday is important and why it is celebrated. This holiday is about an event that happened to our people thousands of years ago, prior to the birth of Christ, I'll probably say about 200, give or take, years before the birth of Christ, where our oppressors, mainly the ones of today, thought it was a good idea to try to force their way inside of our land. Okay? And we're going to give briefly the history, the original history of why us and our oppressor have this beef. So who has Genesis 25 and 21? Start at verse 21.
Genesis chapter 25, verse 21. And Isaac entreated the Most High for his wife.
Right?
Because she was barren.
Because she was barren. Isaac's wife, our father, his wife was barren. Rebecca, keep going.
And the Most High was entreated of him.
And the Most High was entreated of him. Keep going.
And Rebecca, his wife, conceived.
Keep going. So she gave them a child. You don't got to do each one. Just stay where it is. Your copy. She gave him a child. Keep going.
Verse 22. And the children struggled together within her.
And the children, they struggled together within her. She had 2 children inside of her. She was carrying twins. Keep going.
And she said, if it be so, why am I thus?
Why am I having labor pains instead of feeling a baby kicking? Right? Keep going. Why am I having these pains instead of a baby just kicking? Keep going.
And she went to inquire of the Most High.
And that's a wise woman. A wise woman goes to inquire of God about her problems. Keep going.
Verse 23. And the Most High said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb.
2 what?
Nations.
2 what?
Nations.
2 what?
Nations.
Now you have idiots that talking about it's not about nation and race or Goya. So, sir, how would you pronounce that? Goya or Goya?
Just spell it out.
Goya, right?
Yeah.
What the Jewish man calls Goy, right? It's the same as race. Race and nation, biblically speaking, in that time period are the same. You have 2 races of people, 2 nations of people are about to come out of you, right? That's what God told them. You have people today that try to teach, because they're swindled by our oppressor, to believe that Israel's not a race-based belief system. It completely is. God took a man and a woman, 2 kids, and said we're going to separate them by nation. Keep going.
2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels.
2 what?
Manner of people.
Manner meaning 2 different types. 2 different types of people are going to be separated. But we're taught by our oppressor, inside of his religious system, inside of Christianity, that God wants everybody to come together. When all through the book of Genesis, all you see is division, 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 division. We started out, everybody was the same, everybody was just simple, until God gave Adam the law and gave him instruction on how to be a civilized individual. Then you saw the sons of God were punished for not separating themselves from the daughters of men. Then you see the people came together and tried to build a ladder to heaven. So what did God do? Confound the languages to separate them. Separation is all throughout the Bible. And it's not just basic separation, it's separation of the nations. Separations of groups of people based on bloodline. Right? And that's all throughout the Bible. And you're seeing it with his holy people, he separated them from their own brothers. Their own flesh and blood, their twin brother. They were separated by God before they even born. Keep going.
And the one people shall be stronger than the other people.
And that's blatant racism, as we are taught it here in America, or as the definition of racism. Racism is basically believing that one race is superior to another. Right? And that's in the Bible. God said that the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, God's chosen people, the children of Israel, are better than these other people that we're going to read about.
That's right.
Keep going.
And the elder shall serve the younger.
And the what?
The elder shall serve the younger.
The elder shall serve the younger. Keep going. The older brother is going to be the one who serves the younger brother. The younger brother is going to be on top. Keep going.
Verse 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb.
There were twins in her womb. God was not lying. You are carrying twins. And in the womb, these two were fighting each other, letting you know there was always a beef between us and them from conception. Keep going.
Verse 25. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment.
Red all over like a hairy garment. Meaning what? He was hairy. Our oppressor is overly hairy. Look at Cain. Right? That's how they are as a people. We're not hairy. Okay? Like, you look at our beards and look at the Hasidics' beard. Like, yeah, that lets you know what we're talking about. And another thing, for y'all idiots, Esau does not mean hairy. Like, anyone who reads Hebrew can easily tell you Esau doesn't mean hairy. Okay, keep going.
And they called him his name Esau.
Esau or Ishua means he is wasted away. That's what they saw when they saw the first white man post-flood. Okay, keep going.
Verse 26. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel.
His hand took hold on Esau's heel. Okay? That's a heel in Hebrew is Iqua. Keep going.
And his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 80 years old when she bare him.
Okay? Meaning what? Iqua comes from Iqua, meaning heel holding. He held on to his brother's heel. But it also means basically supplanter or overthrower. Basically, the spirit of this is, at some point in history, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians will overthrow our oppressors.
That's right.
Now, who got 2nd Ezra 6? In the Apocrypha. 2nd Ezra, let me get 2nd Ezra 6 and 7. Okay? And we're going to show you why it's important to know this. Okay? 7. Who got it? God, let me,
Second Ezra chapter 6 verse 7.
right.
Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times?
Now let me give y'all a little context. This is Ezra, who's been out conversing with angels, talking to the Most High about everything that's happened to Israel post our return from Babylon. Okay? So he's saying, why do we always get in this situation? The book of Judges, the beginning of our history is enslavement to the Egyptians. After that, after Joshua, when we get in our land, the book of Judges is constant enslavement to our enemies. We get a reprieve with Saul for a little bit, then David and Solomon. After that, same thing. We held power for a minute, so the Most High said, I'm done with you. And then we have to deal with the Babylonians, completely destroying our nation. And now you have Ezra saying, why are we constantly in this predicament? Why are we constantly in a predicament where we're last before everybody? Why are we always the black people? right? For those that understand that breakdown, when nobody's actually the color black. We're all shades of brown. We're just the brown people that are constantly in a bad situation. Okay? So he's asking, why does this happen to us? Read something from the top.
2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the time?
When will this finally end? Keep going.
Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth?
When will this finally be over? Keep going.
Verse 8. And he said unto me, for Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him,
right?
Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau.
Right, his hand held on to Esau's heel. Keep going.
Verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world.
Esau is the what?
The end of the world.
Esau is the what?
The end of the world.
Now, why am I going through to break this down? Those who know me know I'm one of the history teachers, right? One thing you should always know about history, in order to properly understand any historical event, you must understand the history around that event. Right? Now, what's it called? To better understand, like if we look at, if children today have to go back and look at today and realize, look at Congress and realize why Congress is having a problem with money, we're funding 2 proxy wars. You have to look at, during 2023, we were in the 2nd year of the Ukrainian war, and at the end of the 2023, the Israelis went to war with the Palestinians. And then going into 2024, there was a whole big thing about how much can we give to these people. So anybody who has to study that will have to look into that. Why is this important to know? Because when you look at Hanukkah, this verse right here is the mentality and reason for Hanukkah. Read that from the top.
2nd Ezra.
Now, mind you, what you're about to read, or what he just read, predates Hanukkah by probably about a century. Keep going.
2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world.
Wait, what did the Jews believe 100 years before the Greeks came into power? What?
Esau is the end of the world.
What was Matthias thinking when he saw those Greek people saying you should eat pork?
Esau is the end of the world.
Why when you look at Christ's whole life, it was, and like, I want to say 70 years before Christ was even born, it was like nothing but riots in the 1960s of how we had to deal with civil rights. Read that again.
For Esau is the end of the world.
That's why the Jews were going crazy from the time of the Maccabees up until Christ. Because we understood the assignment. Esau is the end of the world. We understood the minute we saw our oppressor in power, we're next. So what does any logical person do? Get them out of power immediately. My job literally means overthrow. I know what I'm supposed to do. You're in power. I need to overthrow you. That was the mentality of Israel during that time period. Keep going.
Come. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The next world, the world that we pray for, every high holy day, only comes once you see the Edomites come into power. This is exactly what our people believe prior to seeing the Greeks come into power. Notice, the Babylonians, it happened, we got to do it, we have to go into Babylon, do the 70 years, like Jeremiah told us, raise families, so on and so forth. The Persians, they're nicer, they let us go back into our land, so on and so forth. The Greeks come and kill all of them. Level everything, there will be no gymnasiums. We will not bow down to an Edomite. That's basically what we said. Why do y'all think that is? We had no problem when Jeremiah said, yeah, just be cool, live in Babylon, run your families, same with the Persians. The Edomites, yeah, we're not dealing with that. We will refuse to be slaves to a devil. Right? Keep reading.
Okay, verse 10. The hand of the man is betwixt the heel and the hand.
Now, what does that mean? Everyone follows our oppressor, and you're going to see that. Now, drop that. Give me First Maccabees, the 1st chapter. we're gonna start to get the history of what exactly happened. First Maccabees, the first chapter. Whoever got it.
Book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip,
Keep going.
Oh, God, the Macedonian.
The Macedonian.
The Macedonian.
Okay. Funny, Macadamians are white. Somewhere clear, Macedonians during this time technically were still Japhetic. Philip, just like any devil, basically just usurped them and took over. Right? Similar to how we're going to do our oppressor. Keep going.
Oh, God, who came out of the land of Chittim and smitten Darius, king of the Persians.
Right? So that's what eventually happened. Where we didn't get into it tonight, but you can go back and read the prophecy that Daniel prophesied for the king of Babylon, which basically showed the great empires that would rule in the form of a statue. The statue had different metals. The top was gold, which symbolized Babylon. The middle was silver, which symbolized Persia. The legs were bronze, which symbolized Greece. The feet, the feet, I want to say, were, the legs were iron, which symbolized Rome, and the feet were iron mixed with clay, which symbolizes America. And in its true spiritual form, at the end of the vision, it struck at the feet, specifically at the feet. The statue was struck and destroyed. Right. And the scripture says there's nothing left of it. There's nothing left of the statue, but the rock that struck it at the feet still will stand forever. That rock is the kingdom of heaven. Right? Get that ahead. Right? And now you're seeing, in real time, in the scriptures, you're seeing the bronze take out the silver, right? The silver is representative of the Persians. And notice, if you read back, when you go back in the verse earlier that we read in 2nd Esdras, when you read further in the 5th chapter, it says, each generation is weaker than the last. That's why you have a weaker metal succeeding a stronger metal, even though that sounds a bit weird. But older generations are always stronger than the generations that come after them. Right? Like, we couldn't live like the Flintstones, living with chisels. Right? We couldn't live. I know a common joke my best friend's sister used to say. Y'all can't be slaves. And that's true. We can't be slaves today. We could not go through the arduous task that our ancestors had to go through. Okay? Now, keep reading.
That he reigned in the stead.
And he reigned in the stead and the first over Greece. He was in charge of Greece, right? Alexander the Great is the first. He's basically the George Washington of Greece, so to speak. Keep going.
Verse 2. And made many wars.
And here's another thing you'll also read about in the book of Daniel. Those same kings are represented, or their kingdoms can be represented as animals. The Greeks are represented by a leopard. And you look up history, it'll tell you Alexander the Great is known as the leopard king. Keep going.
And ran many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth.
Right? And slew the kings of the earth. Keep going.
Verse 3. And went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations.
Now, drop that. Can somebody get me Esau's blessing? It's Genesis 27. No, stay where you are, but yeah, come. Who got Bible Child? When it says 27 and
27 and 30.
Yeah, 30. Bible Child, somebody can read that real quick.
Genesis 27 and 30. And it came to pass as soon as Isaac made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting.
Drop down to 39. God, I
Verse
can read the
39.
blessing itself.
God.
Thompson.
And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth.
You shall have the best things on this planet. Right? Keep going.
Come. And of the dew of heaven from above. Verse
Right.
40. And by the sword shalt thou live.
By what?
And by thy sword shalt thou live.
By thy sword shalt thou live. Meaning what? Read what you got. Brother Thomas, read what you got.
God. Insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
No. Read that from the top.
God. Verse 3. And went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations.
Right, he took spoils. What is spoils? Spoils are literally ill-gotten goods. Meaning he went around killing for this.
Right.
He destroyed nations for this. Right? Just like the Israeli today. They forced their way inside of that land.
That's right.
Now I'm a fair person. And here's what I mean by fair. Good? Okay? Here's what I mean by fair. At the end of the day, this our land. Y'all got kicked out supposedly by the Romans.
Right.
Now there's another group in there, and you want to run like a child and have somebody else do the fighting for you. That's not Israel. And we're going to prove that's not Israel tonight. Keep going.
God. Insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
Nobody wants to mess with America. Nobody wants to mess with Israel. You think they wanted to give away? Here's the thing. Here's the reason why there's still hostages. They still have hostages. The majority of them are sexually assaulted women that they don't want to snitch. This is starting to come out now. Why do I say this? Hamas, after about a month of seeing that our oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of and has no care for life or the life of anyone, yeah, maybe we need to rethink our strategy and give them back their hostages. Why? Because they were seeing the Israeli army, the IDF, did not care. Oh, you want to hide behind children? We kill children. Like, have you never heard of these unalive? They unalive children. Have y'all never heard of the transatlantic slave trade? The Jewish man used to insure our bodies. You know how insurance works?
All right.
You lose something, and I'll pay you back for it. Right? That's how this whole process works. So I don't understand what's going on here. God.
I got precept.
God.
Deuteronomy 28 and 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
Right. They're not caring about all the people they're killing over there in the Middle East. Why? Because our oppressor is the devil. Here's the truth. What's it called? They don't care. Here's one thing you got to understand about Ishmael. And we know this so well because Ishmael has infiltrated all our communities. Ishmaelites care about money.
Right.
You know what's crazy? You know who else really like money? Ain't that funny? But interestingly enough, two people who really like money and really like hustling don't like each other. You know why? Because what's it called? No. At the end of the day, our oppressor is not evil. He wants all of that to himself. He does not want a two-state solution.
Right.
He wants to. Here's the thing. Y'all try to, and I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about people outside the school, outside the truth. Y'all see them as something different than our oppressor. They are our oppressor.
That's right.
Just like our oppressor refused to do anything other than make the people of Gad, right? Just like they refused to make Gad do anything other than live next to Gad and put them on reservations, it's the same thing with the Palestinians. They refuse to work with these people because they never will. The plan is to get you off. to make you an enslaved people underneath me. However, you can't do that with Ishmael. And Israel's seeing that. Keep reading.
God. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
He was exalted and his heart was lifted up. That's why he's considered the great and not just the Macedonian. Now, drop down to verse 7.
God. Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died.
Supposedly of syphilis. Right? Now drop down to verse 10.
God. Verse 10. And there came out of them.
Actually, read verse 8.
Verse 8. And his servants bare rule, everyone in his place.
John, keep going.
Verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
Meaning what? Alexander took his 4 generals and divided his kingdom evenly amongst them. However, our oppressor's an idiot. The United States, the most powerful country on earth, controls the entire Western Hemisphere. There's no one on the Western Hemisphere that can tell America anything. Although they're not as powerful as America, there's no one on the Eastern Hemisphere that can really tell the Russians anything. So what's the brightest idea these two have? Let's fight each other over ideals. No. I believe that the state should control all the money. No. I believe that the people should control all the money. And that the state shouldn't be able to tell me how to run my business. Let's fight each other over this. That's our oppressor. So what did his 4 generals do? Fight each other. Keep reading.
So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth.
Right.
Verse 10.
What evils were multiplied in the earth? The Korean War and the Vietnamese War. And they tried to do Cuba. But the Most High being gracious, let it not happen, Most High in Christ. What am I talking about? The Cold War. What is the Cold War? 2 white people are smart enough to know white people shouldn't fight other white people. A good example of this is the Boondocks, the N-word moment. Notice when the white guy came and he's like, wait, I'm white, and he just walked away. That's how white people feel. They like to think of themselves as dignitary, so let 2 non-whites fight each other, and that'll be it. North Vietnam was communist. The South was ran by America, democracy. Right? That's what they're doing in Ukraine now. It's just gotten so bad that they now have to use white people. That's what they're trying to do in the Middle East. It's just gotten so bad that they once again have to use white people. Keep going.
Verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed
Antiochus,
surnamed Epiphanes.
Epiphanes. Right.
Son of Antiochus,
right,
the king, who had been in hostage at Rome.
Right.
And he reigned in the 137th years of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Right. Give me 11.
Verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men.
Went out what?
Went out of Israel wicked men.
Keep going.
Who persuaded many, saying, let we go and make a covenant with the heathen.
Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen. Let's make a deal with these heathens, right? Now, mind you, these are the same heathens God said we are separate from. And we are 2 different manner of people. This is why they're evil. They're going against what God established. That's why your pastor's evil, and we talk against Martin Luther King. Because right. Martin Luther King went against what God established. Keep going.
That are round about us.
Right.
For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
For since we what?
For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
We had much sorrow. Right? What does that mean? They think that since we left off from being with heathens, we've had much sorrow. What does that mean? Let me give you a good example. We can't get funding unless we join America's system. We had our own schools. They just weren't funded by the American system. But when you get funding by the American system, you got Governor DeSantis saying, no, if I become president, there won't be CRT. I refuse to have a world where where white children have to be taught their ancestors actually were mean to black people. I refuse to live in that world. But I'm forced to live in a world with 10 o'clock news.
Right.
I'm forced to live in a world with modern day BET.
Right.
I'm forced to live in a world with Suki Hana and Sexy Red.
Right.
But you can't hear that many of your grandfathers are probably rapists. If your grandfather's not a rapist, he's at least this.
Sexual abuser.
A sexual abuser. He's at least this. What's that word? An enabler. You can't hear that your grandfather's an enabler. Keep reading.
Khan. Verse 12. So this doest please them well. Verse 13. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen.
Right, now what is this talking about? They asked to join up with the Romans, and the Romans said, yeah, sure. Keep going.
Verse 14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen.
Now, what is a place of exercise? You might have to know some history to do this.
A gym.
A what?
A gym.
What's so important about that? Why is a gym unlawful in this context? I know you know. Why is a gym unlawful in this context? Why is no one allowed to go to this gym? I'm going to give you a hint. A lot of the spirit still exists in the gym. It's just no honest black person would ever do it. I don't know. I'll leave this smelling like God knows what. And probably still try to talk to a female on the train before I go up in there. But Bayan.
Because there's a lot of letter community activity.
No, yes, but there's something specific. You got to know language. Nobody? What is the Greek word for naked? What is the Greek word for naked? Cancer.
I'm gonna assume it's gymnos.
Gymnos. That's where you get gymnasium. The original gyms were naked. You'd have a brother ask him to spot you, ask you to spot him while he's butt naked. Why do you think they have showers in there? Now really question the athletic mentality inside of America. Question why your coach and your teammates always want to slap you on the behind. All of this comes from our oppressors.
Right.
Right? A lot of gyms have little bathing sections. Why do y'all think that is? That comes from the Greeks. Our people thought it was a good idea to take on this culture. Homosexuals. Here's the truth. There would be no dream if Betty Moitz never existed. If Betty Moitz and Marilyn Monroe, if Betty Moitz never existed and Marilyn Monroe didn't look so appealing to Martin Luther King, there'd be no civil rights. Here's a secret. If your congressman wasn't secretly on the down low in like 10 cities, they would have never had the votes to make LGBTQ marriages illegal. I'm good for right now. I got my water. That's the truth. Especially here in America. In a world like democracy, all you truly need for your evil to become legitimate is enough evil people to secretly be around you. Like, here's the thing. Right now, you probably might not be able to get pedophilic or pedophilia supporting laws through Congress. How about in 10 years if pedophiles start secretly putting their own inside of Congress? And now there's about 50 pedophiles inside of the House of Representatives. You might be able to get some legislation to lower the age of consent then. Same with like I just said, homosexuals were able to get it through. Oh, the homosexual community.
Alternative.
Oh, the alter. Oh, what? You can't say. Really? Yeah, moist towelettes. Okay, the moist towelette community. Okay, would not be as powerful as they are if your senator wasn't secretly cheating on his wife with a man. He wants to live his truth, but because of legislation, he can't. So that's what he does. I need to support the Greeks. You know why? Because the Greeks are democratic. You know what we are? If you're a part of the alternative movement, we kill you. And we end your life. Yeah. And guess what? If you're a moist towelette, we're just gonna laugh at you. Jennifer Hyman said this, and this is kind of true. All that bullying and stuff is spiritual.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you're afraid of me calling you exactly what you are. I'm sorry, I was never in that box. And that's what we've really become inside of the society, listening to our oppressor. A bunch of people who don't want to hear truth. It used to be, that was a thing really for women. But now you have men doing it. Keep going. They built a place of exercise. Why? So they could put on these people's ideologies. Keep going.
Khan. Verse 15. And made themselves uncircumcised.
Right. Okay, go on.
And forsook the holy covenant. And joined themselves to the heathen.
Now, how did they make themselves uncircumcised? You don't... that's not physical, you nincompoops. Uncircumcised or circumcision of the heart is a spiritual thing. Right? That's what that's talking about. They made themselves uncircumcised. Keep going.
Khan. And forsook the holy covenant.
Right.
And joined themselves to the heathen. And were sold to do mischief. Verse 16.
Drop that. Give me verse 20.
Verse 20. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again.
White on white crime. So we're clear, and I could clear this up. This is a misconception I had. Ptolemy and his entire line, including Cleopatra, are straight white people. None of them are Egyptian at all. The reason people get confused is because Alexander told his men, marry the locals to trick the community into thinking that prior generations were a part of them. They even tried it with us with King Herod.
Right.
Didn't work. Ptolemy never listened. All of his kids are inbred white people. Literally, they all married their cousins. And it's believed that Alexander and him were half brothers, Ptolemy. But that's not stated. Keep going. Prove it.
He returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude.
He did what?
And went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude.
Right? Now, after we went and built his gymnasium and loved his people, God. After we went and built his gymnasium and loved his people, what did he do?
Went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude.
After we went and said we have a dream and said we want to be in your school system and please educate our children, what did he do?
Went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude.
He went up against Jerusalem and Israel with a great multitude. Keep going.
Khan, verse 21. And entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar.
And entered what?
And entered proudly into the sanctuary.
And that's what our oppressor did. Them Israelis entered proudly into our sanctuary. What's our sanctuary? Our land. The Israelis, these Jewish people, right, entered proudly into our land and told a whole group of other people, this is ours. You don't belong here. Get off. And has been committing atrocities this whole time.
Right.
Against us. Keep going.
Khan. And took away the golden altar.
Right.
And the candlestick of light.
The menorah. This is menorah means lamp. Okay, I'm gonna break this down for you because we all see it. I had what I refer to as Sammy Davis. You ever hear me say Sammy Davis? I'm talking about a cat who believes like Jewish people believe. A brother who believes like Jewish people believe. Because this word, menorah in the Hebrew, translates to lamp. It can be however many bulbs you want it to be. That's their reasoning for what you'll see as a 9-tier lamp, a 9-bulb lamp. A lamp can be however many bulbs you want it to be. But everybody knows standard is 7. The biblical Torah standard is 7. But I'm going to make up whatever I want. I believe you will, following the Talmud. Our oppressor creates his own ideas of what the scripture says.
Right.
Our oppressor, the Jewish man, is no different than his Christian brothers, his Christian counterparts. He makes up what he wants. It has nothing to do with race. Anyone can become one of them, quote unquote. Right? Every time I talk to them, it's like, y'all sound more Christian every day. Y'all just don't believe in Jesus. Right? Keep going.
Khan. And all vessels thereof. Verse 22. And the table of the showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. Verse 23.
Right, keep going.
He took also the silver and the gold.
Right.
And the precious vessels.
He's taking everything. After we didn't even just say we will be your tributaries. We will follow your way of life. We will leave the culture of our ancestors and follow after you for him to come and rob us of all our valuables. Keep going.
Khan. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. Verse 24. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoken very proudly.
Right.
Verse 25. Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were. Verse 26.
Give me verse 29.
Verse 29. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude.
He brought a great army to collect us. Now keep going.
Verse 30. And spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence.
I'm probably sure that if a guy comes with like 50 dudes in military equipment saying, hey, what's going on? Yeah, I don't believe no smile, no none of that. I'm sure what's going on here. It says he came with a great multitude. Keep going.
Khan. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city.
Cool, yeah, what you want? You here for the taxes, right? No sweat, yeah. Yeah, keep going.
Khan. And smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. Verse 31. And when he had taken the spoils of the city.
Smote much people. He's killing them. Keep going.
Khan.
God. Unaliving. Keep going.
Khan. He set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. Verse 32.
He burned our city to the ground. Keep going. Khan.
Right quick. That makes so much sense as to why it's so hard to find things about, in our city, about, the artifacts and the archaeology. You know what I mean? It's hard to find the Shield of David. You got to look into concrete things, for the shield and all that.
Right. You know how many times? Okay, first off, that's protocol throughout history. I can't have you in any way thinking, your children rather, in any way thinking, that they could ever come back into power. So you know what the best way to do that is? You were never in power. So I need to erase all aspects of you ever being in power. I was always in power.
Right.
It's just we have a long history and we are able to fight that because of the power of our God. Where there will always be evidence to prove who we are. But everybody else, I was thinking this to myself. Babylon specifically should be on their knees thanking us. We're the only reason that y'all even exist in history books. Otherwise, who would know about Babylon? If it wasn't for the Bible and Benjamin, who would know about Babylon? Really more so Benjamin. Babylon's all over the Bible. Nobody knows Babylon until you listen to Benjamin. Keep going.
Khan, verse 32. But the women and children took they captive.
But the what?
But the women and children took they captive.
But the what?
But the women and children took the captive.
They took the women and children of these men captive. Right? Keep going.
Khan, and possessed the cattle.
And possessed the cattle and stole all their livestock. Keep going.
Khan, verse 33. They builded the city of David, with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them.
Now, as we saw in the beginning, as I read in the beginning of this, what is Israel thinking to themselves? Anybody who actually reads the scriptures? What's Israel thinking? Like, think about the first scripture we went into. Khan.
Salakia, sir. Repeat the question again, sir.
What is Israel thinking about right now?
Did you read a scripture before you said that, sir? Salakia.
Khan, read it.
Khan, verse 33. They builded the city of David, with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them.
Well, so, what scripture did we read before, and why is that important? What is Israel thinking right now?
Salakia, sir. It sounds like Israel's comfortable right now.
No.
Salakia.
These are the heathens building the wall. What is Israel thinking right now? Khan. Oh, I thought you was raising your hand. Khan.
That they were being enslaved.
No. No. Think about the first verse we read. What was the first verse we read?
That's 2nd Ezra 6.
Right. So what is Israel thinking after seeing this? Esau is the end of the world. Right? The first thing we read was that our people saw in a prophecy, Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is it that follows. Esau is the end of the world. What's called? Jacob is it that follows. Okay. Yeah, Khan.
So they're thinking that this thing is going to lead to the war that's going to be the end.
Right. They're thinking that this is the end. If Esau's in power now, that means, what's it called?
That they're going to get wiped out.
Right. That eventually, once they're out of power, I come into power. That's what any wise Jew would be thinking to themselves right now. Just like the wise Jews are seeing what? The entire world is going to war. Which means, once that war's over, I come into power. And this is another nutcase. If Esau is not our oppressor today, what does that mean? Yeah, we got some, like, unnamed centuries. So that means the white man so that means our oppressor has to be taken out today, And then guess what? We have to be re-oppressed. Okay, if that's what you want to believe, you think Arabs run the world? But I dare you to say that right now. For the last 23 years, you have been since 9/11. If you really said the Arabs, the people that are throwing rocks at tanks, they're secretly in charge of the world. Well, they really don't care about their own people, huh? Like I thought white people didn't care about poor white people. Arabs must not really care about Arabs. If they're in charge of the world and they're making their own people strap bombs to themselves in order to fight their enemies. The white man at least creates remote control drones, right? But Arabs are in control of the world, and they're secretly Esau. That's what you want to believe, Khan.
I guess that's why people with that doctrine don't like the Apocrypha.
Yeah, they don't like the Bible.
Right.
That's the truth. Keep going.
Khan.
Whoever was reading.
Verse 34. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein.
Right.
Verse 35. They stored it also with armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there. And so they became a sore snare.
Right. Okay. Give me verse 37.
Khan. Verse 37. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it.
Okay, keep going.
Khan. Verse 38. Insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers.
Right, keep going.
Khan. And became strange to those that were born in her.
What does it mean it became strange? What does it mean it became strange? Drop that screen share and screen share the other one. Screen share the other. You didn't, what's it called? The other. Nah, I had a link up there already. There should be a link right there.
The second Ezra?
No.
Oh.
At the top. Yeah, one of the tabs. You moved it or?
No, this is the one we're just on.
No. Go back. Did you take over for link?
Yeah, it must
There was
have.
a link up there. There was already a link up there. Let me see what's up. Yeah. Oh, okay. I see what you did. He had a link right here.
You don't remember what scripture was?
It wasn't a scripture. It was a link that he had for what's the name? Through Facebook.
No, I literally went down and made the tab myself.
Look for the history. Look for the history.
LGBT 2023 LGBT Pride Israel.
He had a link up there.
Yeah, go to the history, right?
Yeah, it's not in the. It's not
Because it was a Google search.
in the recently closed.
That was
Oh,
the
this
second.
right here.
That was the second thing.
No, go to images. Yeah, Con, if something's up there, always try to make sure you leave it. No, that's not it.
No.
Just type in LGBTQ Israel 2023 parade.
.23 what?
Well, make a new tab so you don't lose the Bible.
I got that one. In
Okay,
there.
Con. All right. 2023 LGBTQ parade, Israel. Now go to images. Bible can share.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah, now screen share that. Read what you got from the top. I just lost my train of thought. Read what you got from the top.
Khan.
Bible Kashah.
Verse 38. Insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her.
It became strange to those that were born in her. This is strange to Jamaicans. The hell is with the rainbows? What, did we find out the day the flood was? That's what a Jamaican will ask you. No, it's about slink. Yeah, this is strange. Pork. I was talking to a brother at my slavery. Yeah, I was talking to a brother about slavery, like, here's the difference between Greece and Rome when it comes to sexuality. There's a certain emperor inside of Rome that was considered a weirdo because he was not bisexual. The Greeks, however, the women had to dress up. The idea of what we call, well, you can't say the D word or the B word, right? A baldy comes from Greece to a point. They had to dress up like men in order to arouse their men, in order for pregnancy to happen, in order for them to repopulate. That's how disgusting these people were. And then you had those of our people who thought it was a good idea. Let's join with the heathen. Yeah, that's not a joke. You can look that up. The Greeks were so alternative, their women had to dress up like men in order to arouse them. Yeah. Khan.
That could be where the Karens that got the low cut. That could
That's what I'm saying. That's where modern day bodis come from. That idea, you have to dress like, in order to get shorts to like you. To deal with, and it's worse. Remember, a lot of them were soldiers, especially the Spartans. Spartan women would have had to dress. You wouldn't even have to just look like a man. You'd have to dress like one in military attire. Like literally look like, I'm about to have, literally get down with one of your commanding officers or one of your underlings. And she needs to put on that mentality in order for you to want to be with her. And this is what people chose to stand behind. People who will take all your money and then rob you of the rest. Keep going.
Khan. And her own children left her. Verse 39. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness.
And her own children left her. Strangers came and took our land, and our own children left her. You know what it sounds like? Our brothers, the Gadites. Her own children. It's a stranger. This is not what the Gadites wanted. Manhattan is strange to the Gadites that used to live here. Right. But you know what? They don't live here anymore. They live in some reservation upstate. Keep going.
Khan, verse 39. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness.
Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Keep going.
Khan. Her feasts were turned into mourning.
Her feasts were turned into mourning. That's in the book of Psalms as well. How can I sing about Jerusalem in a strange land? That's exactly what it says, a strange land. Now our land is the strange land. Keep going.
Khan. Her Sabbaths into reproach.
Her Sabbaths into reproach. And here's the difference between me and you. Here's the difference between a real child of God and a pretender. Our feast days turned into mourning. Y'all, notice it said feast days plural. Plural. We had to deal with them for 2 years. What did they ruin? Their Day of Atonement? They ruined their Day of Atonement. Now, I think probably 20,000 Arabs are dead. Gone. We're at least experiencing 3 years of constant oppression. None of our feast days are good. Y'all having a beautiful Hanukkah right now.
Damn right.
Like, y'all got your hostages back. Y'all killed your enemies. And now y'all get to enjoy Hanukkah. We're still slaves in the ghetto. We have to go out on our own to feed some of our people that live in goddamn tents this Saturday.
Right.
Y'all get to eat deliciously on Hanukkah. Okay? That's the difference. Keep going.
Khan. Her honor into contempt.
Keep going.
Verse 40. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning.
Right.
Verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people.
Everybody should be one group of people, right? We should all be one people, meaning America, the Tower of Babel. Let's all come together. Same thing with the Israelis. The Israelis want everybody to come together underneath them. That's a dub. Inside here, you will be if you are not an Israelite, you will be a second-class citizen to one. That's the best I can do for you.
Right.
Keep going.
Khan, verse 42. And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
Keep going.
Verse 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
Right? So we left our people. We left our ways. Keep going.
Khan, verse 44.
God.
That was deep too, but it says that we consented to their religion.
Right.
Because to them, to the oppressors,
Right.
it wasn't a religion. It was just their way of life.
Right.
But putting their way of life on us,
Right.
became a religion.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Now, you got to understand, just because he brought that out, I don't understand. My God. Well, here's the thing. Y'all stupid and believe anything an oppressor tells you. So in this, to you, that seems somewhat logical. But I don't know about you. My God doesn't touch women. Y'all God turned into a swan and raped a woman. Then he turned into a sexually assaulted a woman. Then he turned into a bull and raped another woman. Then he Salakia sexually assaulted another woman. Salakia, y'all. Like, I'm gonna stop there, but really look into Zeus, the titular god of Rome, of Greece. That man was a bastard, and yeah, that's what that's who we're going to adhere to as the god of the universe. A sexual assault, repeated offender of sexual assault. I think the only person he consensually had sex with was Hera. And that was his sister. Yeah. Continue.
Khan, verse 44. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah.
Now drop that. Give me verse 48.
Khan.
And the reason I kind of break this down is because this also helps you, especially some brothers who are newer or just teaching. This, what we're breaking down right now, is also the basis of what we know as the Gentile breakdown. Read what you got.
Verse 48. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised.
They should what?
They should also leave their children uncircumcised.
Now I mentioned that if you miss a Passover, which is a law in the Torah, you lose what we would call citizenship. You won't be considered a part of the nation. You'll be cut off. Same with circumcision. If you are not circumcised on specifically the 8th day of your life, when you are 8 days old, an event you yourself cannot remember, you are not a Jew. You are cut off from the nation. You cannot be a part of us. Which is why it was later asked to Peter and the disciples, what are we doing about circumcision? Forget it, circumcise the heart. And because our Father is so wise, when you go in Leviticus the 26th chapter, that is allowed. If they will circumcise their hearts, then they'll be allowed back, right? But this is the basis of Gentiles that you see in the New Testament. People that were cowardly and followed after Antiochus. People that were cowardly and followed after the Romans, Julius Caesar, Octavius, so on and so forth. Paul came back to them and said, it's not your fault that your grandpa and great-grandpa were cowards and did not circumcise you, and that every ancestor after that followed suit. Do you want to follow your culture and accept that you're an Israelite? Yes. Then accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and don't move like any other member of your family past. Move like the Jew you were supposed to move, and like your great-grandfather was supposed to move when Antiochus came there the first time. Okay, keep reading.
Khan. And make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness.
Meaning God now hates you. You're cut off from the nation. And you're going to have your children follow suit. 200-300 years later, centuries later, one of your children will look at you like you're stupid, but because of the Sanhedrin, the scribes and the Pharisees, if they try to come near us, all they're going to say is, oh, so you at one point believed in Zeus. Yes, that's a death penalty crime. You come near us, we kill you. So you celebrated Saturnalia, the ancient name for Christmas. That's a death penalty crime. You come near us, we unalive you. What's another death penalty crime that any person in America would have committed, but if you come near us, you technically would have just either not been allowed around us or we'd have just unalived you. Oh, I say this all the time because we're so, this is like one of the only things I can really say because we're so like desensitized. This is one of the only things I can say. Like, it would be very strange to have to be around a drug addict or a drug dealer back then. The law says you shall not allow a sorcerer to live. We're supposed to find out you sell drugs and end your life, right? But we're so desensitized. We'd have to blow our own brains out. So here's one of the only things we can say. Imagine being a devout Jew coming into the truth, and then the next day a Roman. I just explained the Romans are a bisexual people. A Roman or a Greek comes in. You know what he's been doing his whole life. Right? Remember, they used to, like, their age of consent is children, teenagers, prepubescents. That's the mentality of the people we're trying to take on during the time of the Greeks. Now drop that, give me verse 2, and we're going to get into the rest of this. Mattathias.
Khan, what verse?
Verse 2 and 1. Who got it?
Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 1.
God.
In those days arose Mattathias.
Right, Mattathias. Keep going.
The son of John.
Right.
The son of Simeon.
Right.
A priest of the sons of Jorib.
Jorib, right.
From Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons.
And had 5 sons, right? Keep going.
Yohanan called Caddis.
Right.
Simon called Thasi.
Right.
Judas, who was called Maccabeus.
Maccabeus, right.
Eleazar called Aharon. And Jonathan, whose surname was Aphis. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, woe is me.
These are insults. You are insulting. Put that back up there. Read that again.
And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and
Make
Jerusalem.
Sure they can see it on the screen. Yeah, Khan. Read that again.
And when he saw the blasphemies that were
blasphemy
committed.
Means insult. That is an insult. You know what else is an insult? Moyim.
Right.
The idea of using, I'm not even going to explain it. Just look up Moyim. It is a very disgusting act that, like any Christian, the Jewish man uses to fulfill his sick lust. Why? Because he is Esau.
Right.
He will sell his child for a morsel of meat. And you're stupid enough to follow him.
Right.
Captain Nazariak, a few years ago, battled some nut. Salakia Cap. You remember that cat who basically, when you brought up Moyim, he's like, of course I would. I'd have to. Yeah. That's the spirit of the idiots during Hanukkah. Let's follow Simpleton, who will literally sit there and say, I will let a grown man put his mouth anywhere near my newborn's privates. Read what Mattathias said.
And when he saw the blasphemies.
You understand, none of your children belong to you. I hope y'all know that. That's in the Bible.
Right.
Your children are on loan from God.
Right.
You mean to tell me you took God's child and let some white man do God knows what to him? Read that from the top one last time.
And when he saw the blasphemies.
You insult God. Keep going.
That were committed in Judah and Jerusalem.
Right.
He said, woe is me.
Woe is me. Keep going.
Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people?
Right.
and of the holy city,
Right.
and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers.
Keep going.
Her temple is become as a man without glory.
Right. Keep going.
Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her
Right.
infants are slain in the streets.
Her infants are what?
Slain in the streets.
Our infants get slain in the streets. Nobody gives a damn. 20,000 Palestinians die. The whole world's in uproar.
Right.
And what's slain in the streets? Here's what I mean by slain in the streets. You know how poor Brazil is? Thanks to the European countries. But all of those NATO affiliates gladly give to Israel. But we have to beg the UN to say, hey, you know y'all did evil for the last 400 years to blacks and Hispanics, right? We'll look into reparations. We'll make a board for the next 10 years to talk about, sit there and pay some white people probably, or some uppity black people, millions of dollars for the next 10 years to basically sit there every day and say, hey, so should we give the N-words reparations?
Right.
At the end of it, we looked at it. Then in 2034, we looked at it. It might not work out. Or here's this. The answer is yes. They're going to work it out. It takes them 10 years. And the amount we get is the inflated rate from 10 years ago. That's our oppressor. Our oppressor, we'll go to the gym. We'll take off our clothes and we'll have a white man spot us. And you're still going to come into my temple and rob it. What did RZA say? Oh, if we dressed more properly and wore suits and ties, they wouldn't kill us. Then they bombarded his Twitter with pictures of black men hung in ties and suits in the 40s and 50s and 60s. I just named 30 years of us just being hung in suits. Keep going.
Her young men with the sword of the enemy.
Right. Now
What
drop
nation-
that. Give me verse 17. Verse 15.
In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city Modan to make them sacrifice. And when many of Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together. Then answered the
Mattathias
king's
and his sons came together, right?
Then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias on this wise, Thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. Now therefore, come thou first, and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done.
Right?
Yea,
Now, and that's what they wanted. They wanted somebody with power and pull to convince the rest of the people, the rest of the populace, right? To follow. Keep going.
yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thine house be in the number of the king's friends.
Right?
And thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers.
Now, hear this good. We are a special race of people. We don't fold.
Right.
As a people, here's when we'll fold, when we think it's beneficial to us. Right? Keep going.
And give consent to his commandments. Yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left.
Right. Keep going.
Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modan, according
Right.
to the king's commandment.
John, keep going.
Which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal. And
Right. Now, he was inflamed with zeal when he saw what? Somebody thought it was a good idea after he gave that speech about, we are better than our oppressor. Everybody round about gave in to the Greeks. Everybody round about followed them. But no, we're going to be different. I don't care what every other race is doing. We've never followed the other races. You must not know about us. Keep going.
And his reins trembled. Neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar.
God, and slew him upon the altar. Salaki, where's that verse where they put their face inside the law? Their faces. Hold on. Somebody get that. Now read that again.
Verse 24, which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal,
Right.
and his reins trembled. Neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment.
Right.
Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar.
He ran and slew him upon the altar. We keep going.
Also the king's commissioner who compelled men to sacrifice,
Right.
he killed at that time.
He killed both of them. Right. Keep going.
And the altar he pulled down.
Right.
Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri the son of Salom.
Now, meaning what? Be careful. Oh, that's Bingo? Come on. Go, Bingo. Okay. What's going on? Oh, okay. Like I was saying, what's it called? This is, what's it called? This is him. Who's Phineas? So like, I got these kids up here. Who's Phineas? You know?
From Joshua?
No. This is Moses' great-grandson. No, I'm sorry, not grandson, great-nephew. Aaron's great-grandson. Yeah, Aaron's great-grandson. And Aaron's grandson, Moses' great-nephew. Right? Those get confusing. Long of the story short, this is the cat that used the javelin to kill the cat who thought it was a good idea to have sex with a heathen. After God had already punished us for worshiping a heathen god. You have found it, sir? Oh. Okay. Keep going. That was a hot job. You had found it? Okay, go.
And Mattathias.
Yeah, Khan. Put their faces in the law.
I got some faces, but
Salakia, Cap Shemawala. Where did when the Greeks put their faces in the law? Made themselves, Adam and everybody? That's Maccabees, right? 3 and 48. Okay, Khan, the water. Huh. Mosai, give Cap a hand. Okay, no. Stay where you are. I just wanted it. Khan. Keep going.
Salakia.
Yeah, Khan. Also,
Verse.
yeah, 27.
And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me.
Okay. Let him follow me. Keep going.
So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city.
Left all they ever had in the city. If you love God, come follow us. Left everything they had in the city, just like we did. Just like Abraham did. Just like the disciples did.
Right.
If you come to serve God, prepare your soul for temptation. Guess what? You know who couldn't? You know who didn't hear those words? A rich man. A rich man who came to Christ did not prepare his soul for temptation. He was prepared to hear whatever. He wasn't prepared to hear, go broke.
Right.
For black people. They gave up everything they ever had. Simply because not eating pork was more important. Not eating pork is more important than having running water and a roof over your head. Understand that. I hate the idea of a white woman coming up to me and asking me out on a date. I'd rather live in a cave. That's what these men just said. Keep going.
Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there.
What's justice and judgment? We are going to deal with you for what you did to us. And here's the truth. Show me the heathen nation that's backing us throughout this whole thing. Show me the heathen nation that's giving us the money to fight the war against the Greeks. We did it all ourselves. Keep going.
Both they and their children.
Right.
And their wives and their cattle.
Right.
Because afflictions increase sore upon them.
Because afflictions increase sore upon them. Now drop that. 31.
Now when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were gone down into the secret places in the wilderness.
Right.
They pursued after them, a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them.
Right.
And made war against them on the Sabbath day.
They made war against them on the Sabbath day. I'm not going to get into this. Well, I will get into it. I don't understand how scrapping is work. Scrapping is survival. That's not a job. I don't get paid. Right. I don't, like, at the end of this altercation, I'll probably lose. My hand might be jammed up for a second. Might have a lost tooth. I don't gain anything. So the idea that they thought, well, read on.
Verse 33, and they said unto them, let that which you have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and you shall live. But they said, we will not come forth.
Yeah, we refuse.
Neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. So then they gave them the battle with all speed. Howbeit, they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid, but said, let us die in all in our innocence. Heaven and earth shall testify for us that you put us to death wrongfully.
Now stop, drop that, give me the picture again. This is what happens when you don't understand the Bible. This is what happens to you. You think dumb things like, we can, what is it? What do they say? Oh, that's about little boys. That has nothing to do with men. Talking about the verse about homosexuals. You don't know the Bible and you need someone wise to teach it to you. Mattathias should have been in charge. Everybody should have been listening to Mattathias. You would survive. Everybody should have been listening to Commanding General Yohana. Then Sakari wouldn't have to go on a whole rant about, we're sorry. We're sorry that one of our members died from not getting the vaccine that we told everyone not to get. Here's the truth. Any person who's ever watched their video and died or gotten sick from it, they're liable for their death. Maybe not in America's eyes, but in the eyes of God. The head cat who told everybody, okay, everybody, the Greeks are right outside, but here's what we're going to do. Nothing. We're going to let them come through the doors and slaughter us all. You are in the wrong group of Israelites. That's how I'm going to word that.
Right.
Because everybody don't like when we say the other thing. Oh, you're being mean to us. Okay. These brothers were in the wrong group of Israelites. The brothers with Korah were in the wrong group of Israelites. The brother, Paul had an altercation where he saw a blinding light, and guess what that blinding light taught him? I'm in the wrong group of Israelites.
Right.
Guess what that should probably teach us about today? You might be in the wrong group of Israelites. Yeah, right. Keep going.
So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle.
Stop. And that's the point. You're not an idiot getting yourself killed. It's one thing if you're an idiot getting yourself killed, unalived. You got your wife and kid. You brought your wife and kids into this stupidity too. I couldn't let any of y'all children. Like, no.
And the cattle.
Like, the cattle alone, I gotta kill you. I like beef too much. You gonna kill a cow in front of me and tell me I'm not getting any of the meat? Pause. Yeah, you got yeah. For that we have to scrap.
Right.
But no, we're going to sit there and let them come in and kill us and our wives and children. God. 10 minutes. I heard till about I had like 2.5 hours. That's what the general told me. I was kind of count, sir. But we barely count. All right. I guess we skip down. Salakia. Count. All right. So as we what's it called? 20 minutes. Okay, Khan. That's what I'm Khan. All right. So Khan, keep going.
Salakia. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle, to the number of 1,000 people. Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore.
And that's the truth. We're not making fun of anybody. Right. But at the end of the day, the truth has to be known. And this is what Mattathias had to say. He mourned for that brother just like we mourn for any brother that passes. Right? Keep going.
And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth.
Right. Keep going.
At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him.
And yeah, let me explain something to you. We have a group of enemies right now that if we would listen to you stupid simpletons, they would quickly root us out of the earth. That's why you're a nobody and we're still in the fight.
Right.
Nobody knows you. They only know us and them. And they're trying to remove us. But because we have the spirit of Mattathias, we survive. Right? Keep going. We're not rooted out. Keep going.
At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him. Neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places.
Right.
Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Also all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were a stay unto them. So they joined their forces, and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath. But the rest fled to the heathen for succor.
Right. Meaning what? We went and started defeating our enemies, and those who were against us ran to our enemies. What does it mean to run to our enemies? You're afraid of 4 dudes, so you call the police when you got 30. Keep going.
Then Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars. And what children soever they found within the coasts of Israel uncircumcised, those they circumcised valiantly. They pursued also after the proud men, and the work prospered.
Now, let that be a lesson to you. You do not technically have to wait for your 8th day of life. Mattathias is showing it here. Any children he found that did not get it on their 8th day of life, I'm not going to punish you for the evils that our oppressor did. Keep going.
And the work prospered in their hand. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles and out of the hand of kings. Neither suffered they the sinner to triumph. Now when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength in the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time, so shall ye receive great honor and
Right.
an everlasting name.
Right, and that's what this is about. You should remember your ancestors at all times, right? And that's what helps you get through.
Right.
For time's sake, we're going to skip up. Give me 4 and verse, hold up, I got it. Hold up. Give me 4 and verse 30.
Is that 4 and 30?
Yeah, 4 and 30.
First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 30.
This is
And-
after Mattathias has died. This is what his son decides to do after he takes the reins. Give me verse 28 right quick.
The next year, therefore, following, Lysias gathered together 70,000 choice men of foot and 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them.
Right.
So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsura, and Judas met with them 10,000 men.
Met with them 10,000 men, right? Keep going.
And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said,
3,000, 3 score, that's 60,000 men on foot and 5,000 horsemen versus Judas's 10,000. So that's 65,000 altogether. Keep going.
And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David.
By who?
The hand of thy servant David.
He followed his father's order.
Right.
Your father said, remember the men who came before you. I'm facing an insurmountable army. When is the last time we've had to do that, King David? King David was known for killing tens of thousands. With the small, he was basically considered a lower rank. He'd be like a captain, killing tens of thousands with a small amount of men under his employ. Keep going.
And gavest the host of strangers into the hands of Jonathan, the son of Saul.
Right. He served under Jonathan. Jonathan was the general, but David was his captain. The captain's doing the work of the general. Keep going.
And his armor bearer.
Right.
Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. So they joined battle, and there were slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men. Even before them were they slain.
Now drop that. If you could go to 4 and 7 right quick. This is earlier, but you definitely want to hear this.
4 and verse 7. And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen, and these were expert of war. Then said Judas to the men that were with him, Fear ye not their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea.
He's doing what his father told him to do, remembering the days of old. Right? We want to create our own things. Our oppressor wants to create his own thing with the Talmud. Right? But at the end of the day, the only true path to success is yesterday's path.
Right.
Keep going.
Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea when Pharaoh pursued them with an army.
Right.
Now therefore, let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day, that so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivereth and saveth Israel. Then the strangers lift up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle, but they that were with Judah sounded their trumpets. So they joined battle, and the heathen, being discomfited, fled into the plain. Howbeit all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them unto Gazera, and unto the plains of Idumea, and Azotus, and Jamnia.
Okay,
So
now you could drop that. Give me verse 6. 36, sorry. 36. All right, we about to end this off.
Verse 36, then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Sion. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burnt up, and shrubs growing in the courts,
Right.
as in a
So they
forest.
completely left our temple unupkept. Right? They completely destroyed it. Keep going.
Or in one of the mountains. Yea, and the priests' chambers pulled down.
Right.
They rent their clothes.
Right.
And made great lamentation.
Right.
And cast ashes upon their heads.
Right.
And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces.
Right.
And blew an alarm with the trumpets. And cried towards heaven.
Right.
Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress, until he had cleansed the sanctuary.
Right.
So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary, and bare out the defiled stones into an unclean place.
Right.
And when, as they had consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them.
Meaning that they'd been using this altar to cook unclean foods on it. That's what an altar is. It's a grill. Keep going.
Because the heathen had defiled it.
Right. Keep going.
Wherefore they pulled it down and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them.
Right.
Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hollowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick.
Right, the menorah.
And the altar of burnt offerings.
Right.
And of incense.
Right.
And the table.
Right.
And upon the altar they burnt incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu,
right,
in the 148th year,
right,
they rose up betimes in the morning,
right,
and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings.
And that's another thing. Keep going.
Which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it, even in that was it dedicated with songs and cisterns and harps and cymbals.
Right.
Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success.
Who had given them good success. Right? Keep going.
And so they kept the dedication of the
altar. The word
altar.
dedication in Hebrew is Hanukkah, which is where that comes from, HaKanukkah. Keep going.
And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, and with shields, and with the gates, and the chambers they renewed and hanged doors upon them.
Right.
Thus,
So basically, they redid the temple. They rededicated it. They brought new things into the temple. That's why many cities usually use this time to redesign their schools in the spirit of this day. Keep going.
thus was there great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away.
Right.
Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness.
Keep going.
At that time also they builded up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before.
Before you read this last verse, sometimes I just don't want to deal with like certain breakdowns and certain things because y'all just stupid, and y'all stupidity is not worth my time. It really isn't. Read the last verse. Just want to clarify one thing. We're talking about the Greeks this whole night, right? I just want to clarify that. Keep reading. Read this last verse.
And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea.
Who?
Idumea.
I'm pretty sure we're talking about the Greeks. What?
Idumea.
No, the Grecians.
Idumea.
So we've been talking about the Greeks. The Greeks invaded us. The Greeks did this. But now we need a defense against who?
Idumea.
This is why I don't deal with that whole Arab who is Esau. Amos and I want to say Joel have the same goddamn thing. One verse says Esau, the other says Greek. But it is literally the same thing. You sold us that after you bought us from Africans. Tyre and Sidon. This is why I don't deal with it, because you're so stupid and you clearly don't research. With that being said, that is the purpose of Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a celebration of 8 days of us, with the power of the Most High, stopping our enemies. There is no biblical evidence of magic oil that lasted 8 days long. There's no evidence in the Bible of this at all. Right? Here's the thing. Black people don't party one day. An actual traditional black people are slaves. You cannot judge black people by slave criteria. Meaning what? A black person, okay, a brother who's a millionaire parties much differently than a brother who's not a millionaire. You know what brothers who are millionaires right now are doing? They're in 2 sections of clubs like, hey, I can waste the most money. That's our people. Like, so when you see us having a party just for a day, understand, we went through years of oppression underneath these people. Yes, we're going to party for 8 days long after we finally kick you out.
Right. Damn right.
And that's Hanukkah. With that, I end the class. Pass the class over to Priest and Officer Shaul.
Men of Israel, Amalia, which means to stand.
Earned and did the job and did the work that it takes to get your ring back. So we're gonna get his brother his ring back. Give me 1 second here.
Hey man, you got a job.
We're gonna say this up here. Y'all don't say this down there.
Yabaraka Yahweh.
Yabaraka Yahweh.
Yashamarka.
Yahawashi.
All Yahweh.
All Yahweh.
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 Al-Yaka.
Al-Yaka.
Wayakunka.
Yashar Yahweh.
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 Al-Yaka.
Al-Yaka.
Wayashamlaka.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'ashem.
Yahushua.
Barak.
Rapah.
Magun.
Hagun.
Shalayah.
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 Ba'ashem Yahushua.
Ba'ashem Yahushua.
Doctor, ready to roll?
Men of Israel, Amadim Shabbat, Amadim, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Barak Thumb, Yajmatah, which means hands down, soft, face assistant, sister. Amadim, men of Israel, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Amadim Shabbat, Amadim, Barak, Yahweh Shemal Athah Ba'ashem Yahushua. Yajmatah, which means hands down, class dismissed.